Greetings everyone, this is episode 59 of Off the Sprue, and in this one we'll finally be applying the finishing touches to Ryefield Models M1A1 Abrams. Guys, it's been a long and satisfying journey and we're finally at the final step. In this video I'll be applying the finishing touches to this tank model from a Ryefield model. In this video I'll be looking at a few things. First, I'll be scratch building tow cables. I'll be replacing the styrene kit parts with proper metal cables, and I'll show you the method I follow to do that. Next, I'll be adding aftermarket view blocks and antennas, and I'll show you how I did this. Third step is to add some stowage. I'll be adding some MRE boxes from Tamiya, the scratch build top that I demonstrated in the previous video 58, and I'll also be adding some ammo boxes. Next, I'll be scratch building Miles gear, and I'll be showing you exactly how I did that. And then the final step, of course, being weathering. I'll be using oils, pigment, as well as some enamel weathering products. So that's what you can expect in this video, and let's get started. The first step is to replace these kit parts from Ryefield model. Now, thin styrene rods seldomly work in styrene kits in my experience. Actually, these arrived broken out of the box, one of the cables, and I decided to scratch build these tow cables from actual metal cable. And the cable that I used is from a picture hanging kit. You find this at most hardware stores. Now, first I drilled out these connectors so the cables can connect to them. Next, I took a length of that picture wire, used burnishing fluid just to give it the proper color, and there you can see. Actually, I like this a lot more. The real cable just looks so much better than the styrene kit parts. With that done, they can be fixed to the model using a little bit of super glue, just a drop or two in the right spots. And there we go, scratch build tow cables, looking a lot better than the kit supply parts. Next step is to add these lenses for the viewing blocks, and I'll be using this very nice accessory piece from AFV Club. This is a film with a reflective surface, and of course this will be glued with ultra glue to the kit part. Ultra glue dries completely transparent. First, I apply a little bit with a toothpick just to the inside of that viewing block. Now, this film has a protective layer on both sides, so you first need to remove that before gluing it to the kit part itself. This is some very fine work, so you'll need a steady hand as well as a set of tweezers. And when it's glued in place, just remove the protective film on the open side. This driver's hatch is now ready to be glued in place with those lenses in the viewing ports. And there we go. Nicely detailed driver's hatch. Next, I'll be fitting these aftermarket antennas from Orange Hobby. Now, I really love the look of this. It's all metal. The spring portion is there, as well as the base, the antenna itself, and then finally this little piece at the rear. Took several tries, but eventually I got there. And there we go, both are fitted. And this is now ready for paint and primer. Now, I glued these to the kit supplied bases, so they would still fit on the model, and of course we'll be needing two of these. And once they were painted, this is what they look like. Certainly liking the look of that. Just to add some detail, I dry brushed the edges of that spring portion of the base, just to bring out that nice detail we have there. Now, the next detail is this round object right on the edge of the antenna, and to make that I used this black super glue from AK, as well as a fine plastic needle applicator from Green Stuff World. And it's just a matter of applying a little bit of a tiny drop of super glue right on the edge, hanging that upside down to dry properly. And when this is dry, the antenna can be glued in place on our model. There we go, easy fit. Next up are these tail lights, clear parts from the kit itself, and I painted this with transparent red from Vallejo. This is also glued to the model with ultra glue. Of course, ultra glue dries completely transparent, and it's perfect for clear parts like this. Carefully position it in place, something like that, and then use a wet cotton bud just to remove the excess glue that might have spilled onto the part itself. And there we go, tail light glued in place. Next up are these kit supplied ammo boxes. I'm using styrene glue just to glue those in place, fitting all the small bits and pieces to the model now. Next up are these MRE boxes that I see in a reference picture of the original B38 tank that I'm building. In this very familiar kit from Tamiya, this sheet of paper is supplied. These boxes, very nicely detailed, they're cut out with a pair of scissors, folded, and then of course glued in place with any paper glue of your choice. Something like that. And there we go, little MRE boxes, very nice detail to add. Now in this reference picture you'll see these white plastic packaging straps. We've all seen these on real boxes, and this I'll be making with 1mm Tamiya masking tape as well as Vallejo white grey. This is simply sprayed onto the tape, and then the tape itself is glued in place over the box. Very easy to do. And there we go. Those are now ready to be placed on the model itself. And again, I'm using ultra glue from M1A1 to glue this in place on the model. And there we go, true to our reference picture. The next part is the Miles gear. Now I had to research this. Miles gear is a training aid, and it's an acronym. It stands for Multiple Integrated Laser Engagement System, mouthful. And the biggest challenge here will be to recreate these black sensors on that olive drab cloth tape. And again, I'm going to use masking tape and the black super glue from AK. The first step is to stick this tape to a plastic surface so I can keep using the adhesive on the back. And I then used olive drab primer from Vallejo just to spray paint this. And there you can see that's the result. That's the olive drab cloth backing. Next step is to take careful measurements on the turret itself as to where I want to place those black sensors. This is marked on the tape. And next I'm going to use the black super glue again with the needle applicator, and now carefully place little beads of super glue on that masking tape. And that will of course replicate the black sensors that we see on the real thing. There we go. That little strip is now ready to go onto the turret. I also just use a little bit of super glue just to keep these in place. Now with all these stowage items done, these can now be fitted to the tank model itself. At this stage I created that top, and in the previous video you can follow the entire process that I followed to scratch build this top. Very easy to do, and this can go into the rear bustle rack. The ammo boxes are next. These were usually bolted onto the back, according to my my friend the tank mechanic. I also added this little oil can that was also used by crews on these tanks. This goes into the left-hand side of the rear bustle rack, and there we go. The stowage has been fitted, and the next step will be to start adding some weathering. For that, I'll first need the just the hull section. I'll be starting at the front of the hull. Of course, there's a lot of weathering to be seen there on reference pictures of the real tanks. I'll be using this oil set from Uptailing 502, three colors from that: light mud, earth, and dark mud. This is also a technique that you might have seen me use in a previous video. First apply some of the oil paint, and then using odorless thinner and a broad brush, I just start creating this streaking effect with both the light and the dark mud colors. And if you continue blending the paint like that, you end up with a very realistic effect on the side of the tank hull. Honestly, these oil paints from Obtailing are so nice to work with, and I can highly recommend them. Don't forget the turret itself, front of the turret. Apply the same effect there. And there we go. All the streaking has been applied. It's certainly starting to look like a well-worn tank, and time to move on to the next step. Guys, now for this I first decided I'll be using some European earth pigment. I mixed up some mud with this, similar to what you're seeing on your screen, and my initial plan was to start applying this to the side of the tank. Initially I planned on adding a lot of mud to the side, but I quickly realized that this is not exactly the look I was after. This effect wasn't quite working. And the point I'm trying to make here is that don't be afraid to step away from the stuff. While paint is wet and while these effects are wet, you can still remove them from the vehicle. So don't be afraid to try things, and back away if it doesn't work. There you can see I removed a lot of the mud, something that looks a lot more realistic. Of course, I left some on the front of the hull. There'll be plenty of splattering there. Next, I wanted to replicate the dust that I see in reference pictures from Germany, and for this I use Kursk soil. The color is appropriate for the type of dust, and this is now carefully airbrushed to the bottom of those side skirts with my Iwata airbrush. Again, this is a very subtle effect. This is something that you build up in several layers. And there we go, the dust has been applied. I'm certainly happy with that. At this point I also reapplied some of the streaking just to complete the effect. Next, on to fine details. I can see these reflective strips on pictures of the original tank. That's something I just airbrushed in. I used fuel stains from Ammo MiG, and this is applied to that open fuel cap at the back there, just for some added realism. Next, this black exhaust residue is just reapplied to the rear bumper area. Next, I wanted to recreate some worn metal, and for that I used graphite powder as well as a stick of graphite, and this is just carefully brushed onto the model and then polished in with either a finger or with a cotton bud. You can see that especially around the turret. That's very effective use of some worn metal, just recreating that effect. The graphite stick works in much the same way. Just apply some graphite and then make sure that you polish that just to get that high shine. Pay special attention to the edge of the turret. Guys, when you do this, keep moderation in mind. Keep in mind that you are aging the vehicle when you're applying effects like this, and it's easy to go overboard, and especially on modern vehicles with space age coatings. I'm always very careful not to overdo weathering. Modern armies go to a lot of trouble to maintain their gear, so keep your references close by and make sure that you weather according to that. Guys, and finally, this is the final result after 6 months. What a journey this has been. I really enjoyed building this kit, and thank you to my friend, the US Army mechanic, as well as the original crew of B38. I would not have been able to add this level of detail without your input. And again, guys, I want to repeat, if you want to build better military models, speak to the veterans. These guys operated this equipment, they lived the life, and they can certainly help you as a modeler to get a more realistic result. If you'd like to see more pictures, there are 3 galleries available on my Instagram right now. as well as some additional information. So head on over to Instagram for some more pictures. This is the usual list of all the products that I used in this video, available from your hobby shop. Guys, and that's it then for the Abrams build. Thank you so much for following along. Thank you for all the messages that I received. I really appreciate all the comments, and looking forward to seeing everyone in a next video. I'll be starting a new sponsored build soon, and it's going to be a good one. Thank you for watching.